Welcome to Snakes and Otters, a pointless discussion of eternal questions. Get ready, we're about to live in your head rent-free. This is episode 107.
I am Martin.
I'm Robert.
And I'm Francis, sitting in the captain's chair this time around because Martin told me I'm supposed to.
He has the conn.
I have the conn, gentlemen. Yes, exactly. Code of honor, boys. We're going to talk about quotations, great quotations. You never know where we're going to come from, but somehow Robertius Malleus the Hammer will tie it all together at the end. So I'm assuming that you're prepared because, hey, you don't have to prepare. The show is your preparation.
Well, that's true. You guys are my show prep.
That's right.
But I do have my document open. I scroll through my list of quotations.
Well, you have a robust master list you're working through. Yeah.
And I have not added to it in a while, but we only do these once a month, so I'm probably good for a while. And I think on occasion, once or twice, I've actually come up with one not on the list.
I was going to say, I know you've got to have gone off your own reservation at least once or twice.
Your mental hard drive is loaded with these, I know.
It's full of useless information.
Yeah.
I'd like to think we all share that virtue.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of my deal, too, is stuff pops in old Martin's head, and sometimes makes sense and sometimes doesn't, but...
Well, I'll say this, as many of these as we've done, and that's been quite a few, we've never, ever had a stinker on this one, I don't think.
No, I don't think so. But, to me, Code of Honor is us at our most essential best.
Our most philosophical.
There's some of that. Yeah, very true. But I mean, it's us sitting around talking about, those eternal questions.
That's right.
Pointless discussion of eternal questions. I mean, that's how this whole thing started.
That's right.
Basically Code of Honor kind of stuff.
Yeah, we just kind of we kind of retooled, refined, and sharpened our pencils a little bit.
Because a lot of Code of Honor will take from history and pop culture and from biographies. So it's kind of the essence of all the others distilled into these quotations.
The meta topic, perhaps.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a leadership development. What do they call those things?
Seminar.
Seminar. Yes,
Yeah.
it's a leadership seminar and a history lesson and a debate on language, all kind of rolled into one thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely, I love that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
It's just this just hits us where we live.
These are my favorite. They really are.
Absolutely, we always do a great job on that. I guess we need to get started. You want to go first, Martin, or you want me to?
I'll kick us off. How's that?
Oh, that sounds fine. No problem.
So you're a captain. You can assign me to kick it off.
This is true.
There we go.
Yes, lead the landing party.
Oh, he's
The
wearing
away
a red
team.
shirt today.
The away team. I'm on the away team.
Well, this is true. It depends on which version you were talking about. Yeah,
I'm
lead the away
Riker.
team. That's right. And wearing the red shirt.
But that's okay. If he's Riker, it's good to wear the red shirt.
That's correct.
It's the gold shirt you don't want
And
to wear.
it even has a beard too. This works.
But yes, I'm wearing my merch today.
That's
Yes,
right. You got
Snakes
the
and Otters,
swag
yes.
on today. Normally we all do. For some reason, Robert and I just didn't go there.
My
this time.
T-shirt was not in my... I think it's in the dirty clothes. So,
Well,
and I was not pulling out the hoodie today.
No.
in the hamper. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
well,
glorious
we try to
day.
fly the colors as often as we can and let people know. We've gotten many comments when we wear them out, especially when the three of us are wearing them together and go to a restaurant or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah, spread the gospel, baby.
All right. So I'm going to go with something that this is a kind of against the grain for me in doing a popish culture type-ish one.
I like it when you stretch, sir.
Yes. Normally mine are very grounded, very concrete, very historical or literature or something like that. But I'm going to do the Klingon proverb.
Oh, you get me where I live, that's for sure. I don't even have to bring up Star Trek this time. You do.
I've got it. Yes. Well, I did it right from the start because I told you had the conn.
Well, that's true. That's right.
So, 4,000 throats may be cut in one night by a running man. Or in Klingon, I'll try to not mangle this too badly. Kastavish waram ilos hut slija gepot yod.
Yeah, don't give up your day job, but you're doing fine.
Well, I think there's a big part of the Klingon is you got to yell some of it.
That's some of it, and it's very clipped, and it's very...
Some spit should probably come out, too.
Yeah, I think I got something on my screen here. I'll wipe that one down. But that's, and I'm not sure exactly who's the screenwriter that came up with that one. According to Wikipedia's wiki quote, It appears in Day of the Dove.
Oh, yes.
The original series episode, 4,000 throats may be cut in one night by a running man. So the reason that one keeps popping back in my head lately is just this whole notion of whenever you're trying to get something accomplished, it takes the work.
Mm-hmm.
Put the work in. That's the running.
Uh-huh.
Get out there and actually do whatever it is you need to be doing.
Well, that and the throat slitting, but yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a very Klingon
it is,
aphorism,
yes.
But I've had this on my mind. Of course, it's it's summer break for Bjorn. Ivar's been down here at the basement hard at work with his job, and Mrs. Martin recently starting a new job. So this whole thing of how do you cut down a task? Well, you get to it, get to running, and once you get the work going and get underway, you'll be surprised at what you can accomplish.
Oh, yeah.
You can cut 4,000 throats in a night,
Are
metaphorically.
Are you speaking of the virtue of individual initiative here, perhaps?
Yes, individual initiative, and also of just putting in the effort.
Well, it's interesting you say that because the quote that I'm going to pick, it nails exactly into that, and we didn't coordinate this at all. I'm kind of almost stunned, and it's almost scary. I'll save it for mine, but it's kind of the same. It's the same daggone thing.
Yeah,
it really
there's value in the effort. There's value to the work.
Well, even more to the point, nothing happens without it.
Right.
True.
And we're just in that kind of this. We've talked about this before. This moment in history where delayed gratification is a mystery concept to so many.
Yeah,
Almost
I find
evil
your quote interesting for your take on the quote interesting from this point of view, and that is it has its origins ultimately in the idea, because it's not unique, obviously, to the Klingon culture, that in a very waspish Calvinist American approach to things.
Yes.
Where we've got to be doing. And so, but that's not always the case. You're right that delayed gratification is an unheard of concept anymore. We got to have it now. We need it now.
Yeah.
I don't want to put in any effort. I just want to make some TikTok videos and get rich and famous.
Right. Which, I don't understand. I've put in the work, but it's not there. All 5 minutes of it.
Well, it's very similar to the idea. We all know people like this, and my wife has them in her job all the time, that spend an enormous amount of energy, effort, brain power, etc., to try and not work.
to try to get out of
work. That's correct.
Yeah. But if you put that effort into it, you're going to just have the job done.
That's right.
But that's just it, though. The point, the goal, is to not do that job.
That's so right. The goal is laziness, sloth. Sometimes,
because sometimes
in the examples I'm working under, yes.
And to give you just a bit of an opposing point of view on that, as far as need to put in the work. Yeah, and any goal, obviously, to achieve it, you need to put in the work. But Bishop Robert Barron was listening to one of his podcasts just yesterday.
Wonderful guy, and
he was talking about. Teaching like an intro to philosophy class at probably was it Mundelein.
He was rector in Mundelein.
I couldn't remember. Didn't know how to pronounce it off the top of my head.
Chicago, yes.
But he used to teach intro to philosophy before he became a bishop, and he would tell the class, this is the most useless class you will take. Now he wasn't saying that to put his class down,
right?
But he was saying, but it is also the most useful class that you will take, in the sense that, or most important class maybe, because the things that have no use, meaning no utility for something else, means that they are good in and of themselves. So you do it, like reading the comics page or looking at a sunset. There's no utility to those, but they can have great purpose and meaning in and of themselves. So sometimes...
Warms your soul.
It warms your soul. So sometimes we can get caught up in doing the running and the throat slitting to get those 4,000 done in one night. Metaphorically.
Of course, yes.
That we sometimes
Unless
lose.
you're jammed up on traffic on 65 and then
then
start slitting.
That's right. That's right. That's probably the place where you could probably get all 4,000 done because you're all jammed up. Yeah. But sometimes maybe we shouldn't be running to do that.
Yeah, the proverbial slow down and smell the roses.
Yeah. So I mean, I like the quote because you're very right. It's important to know that we have to do the work to get the right result. Sometimes, though, we forget that maybe that's not the right result.
Yeah.
Because we get kind of caught up.
Not the only result.
Well, it's not the only result. Yeah.
Sometimes ditches need to be dug, but they need to be dug in the right place.
Right. Yes.
Work for work's sake can be useless.
And the no purpose.
No purpose to it.
It's the menial jobs.
Yeah. Well, even menial jobs need to be done.
No, yeah.
Somebody's got to empty the
if
trash.
you do them well, if they weren't necessary, nobody would hire you to do them.
That's exactly it.
Except maybe the government.
And there is a inherent dignity to work of any type.
Yes, there is.
And we don't want to lose sight of that. That's kind of where I was going with that, is to make sure that we recognize that all work has dignity because by its nature, it dignifies the human person.
But you should want to do it right and well.
Right.
Yeah.
Because there is a difference between right and well. You can be efficient but not effective, and vice versa. Effective but not efficient.
Yeah, I mean, you can certainly be efficient by just pushing your work onto someone else.
Right. That's the best use of my time. Getting you to do my job.
Well, that's one of the things that I've railed against, and I probably even mentioned it here. When you start to talk about process improvement, I like to think about those kind of things on a very macro level, but sometimes people don't see them that way, and process improvement is, well, I'll just give this work to someone else. No. That's not an improvement.
No.
That makes it easier for you, but that doesn't make it easier for the organization.
Yeah, the job is not done as well.
Yeah.
Otherwise, why do we need you? You would think there would be that strategic understanding in there that if you're constantly pushing work off on someone else, you might get to the point where you're not necessary.
Yes, and I've told co-workers that occasionally too. It's like, dude, they'll get somebody in here and pay them half as much to do twice as much work.
That's right.
You better kick it.
Exactly, and it's unfortunate. That should be your last thing that you say to them. But it's amazing how many people require that to be said to them.
Yeah. Well, and Robert, of course, always going right to the kernel of it is this Calvinist outlook of. It is very much a part of my DNA to watch. I watched my dad work 6 days a week for 40 years. Mm-hmm. And again, sick and dying of cancer, but he got rehired after he retired. And then they're calling him because all the kids are all, I have a hangnail, I can't come in. And then he wanted him to, come in and work a few hours at the grocery store. It's like, well, he's kind of on morphine and he's in a lot of pain. I bet we leave him alone.
Right.
But
you don't want a guy on morphine to be handling cutting instruments. It's probably not a good thing.
So it's very much a part of my worldview that work's got to get accomplished. Please get out of my way. I can get this work finished if I can get to it and get it on.
Well, plus, if we get the job done, we've got time for relaxation and leisure and the ability to sit around a table and talk about these issues.
Yes.
Yes. Because ideally, no, we don't want to work 6 days a week and be so exhausted on the seventh day we can't do anything.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be the goal.
Yeah.
But sometimes the methods are the same because you got to put in, you put most of your work in early to get something off the ground, And so when we are young and have energy and enthusiasm and we're too stupid to know any better, it's okay to do that because there are less restraints on us from outside sources, whether it's family or whatever. And we just have more mental and physical energy to do that. I can't do some of the stuff. I don't want to do some of the stuff that I was doing when I was 20 years ago because I just don't have the patience for it anymore.
Yeah.
But if you do a lot of that work up front, you can enjoy the back end.
Yeah. And it's also a lot about being attention to detail.
Yes.
Do all the work. Don't just do a chunk of it, but do all the work. If there are subsidiary tasks that have to be completed, then the job's not really done until that 4,000th throat is cut.
Right.
3,999 of them, the job's not done. Do it all.
That's right, because that 4,000th throat might be the most important one.
Yeah.
The majority of the job is not the job.
Oh, so you're saying, in many respects, the job is the journey, not the destination. You're saying it is the destination.
I'm saying it's a little of both.
I don't mean to set up an oppositional relationship, but I do want to kind of tease out the fact that they both matter.
Yes, absolutely, they both matter.
And,
Yes.
Because where you go is just as important as how you get there in many respects,
and vice versa.
Yes, that you cannot. And realistically, I mean, think about it. You cannot separate one from the other,
right?
Because unless you never start the journey.
So that's we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
But yes.
But once you start, then yes, how you get there is supremely important.
Yeah.
Because it needs to be not just efficient, by running and effective, but I think it has to be right and good. It has to be moral and ethical too. Now, granted,
A job worth doing.
Now, throwing that into the context of cutting 4,000 throats may sound like an oxymoron, but again, that's the metaphor.
It's a matter, and I know one of Francis's things too is in I think it's Spock. One loves to be of service, or one desires to be of service.
Actually, that would be Worf. The honor is to serve. Another Klingon thing that he uses, and there's truth to that. Is by doing what you do for the betterment of others, whatever that is. He defines it broadly. He's very macro, not micro.
Right. There's honor in serving the organization.
In servicing, whatever the cause is, or whatever. And see, that's what I want to tease into is even the most drudgery, menial, hamster wheelie, if that's a word, type.
I like that hamster wheelie.
Type.
I saw hamster wheelie open for Y&T in 1987.
I thought you were going to say CSN and Y in 74. I'm thinking, wait a minute, we're a little too young for that.
No, hamster wheelie strikes me as just like a hair metal band name. So that's why I said Y&T.
Well, that's it. But what I'm saying, even those, that has to have dignity.
Yes.
And the only way that it has dignity is if the person who's performing that duty sees the value in it. I believe. There are those who may not bother, but it should be there for them to find if they desire it. Otherwise,
well, see, now you just contradicted yourself.
I know. I'm
because because I think there is dignity without them seeing the dignity.
Yes, there is. Yes. There absolutely is. But I think it's essential that they be able to see it.
Yes, absolutely. Because
otherwise, it's akin to almost slavery.
Yes. I will posit something really quick, a little bit of a sidebar. But I propose that Worf is the greatest Klingon philosopher ever.
Oh, I can. Absolutely. I second that. Absolutely. I'll vote for that.
Because he strives to live the ideals of his culture.
Yes.
And the good ones.
That's correct.
Not the bad ones.
And that which he is in a unique position to do because he did not grow up there. That's why he idolizes it. So that's why he picks the good stuff.
Yes.
And he's not real happy when he runs across Klingons that don't live up to that ideal, like Gowron. But we
Duras.
There's a good day to die, Duras. And the day is not yet over.
Oh yes, we could do Duras quotes.
Oh, that's the best stuff.
Kadar was my mate. Rah! That is how it shall be. I'm sorry, we're going off the who started this Worf? You started this Worf
You
business.
mentioned him.
I did. That's correct.
Yes,
we have perhaps we should do a Worf episode.
A Worf appreciation.
A Worf appreciation episode.
Oh,
we should do that. Yeah. Okay. Let's. Yeah. We could.
That's one there where you almost would have to really make the effort. Can we contact Michael Dorn?
Good point.
Is there because he is Worf? He is the keeper
of the character. Yes,
he's the keeper of Klingon-ism.
He is, and in fact, Worf has had the most appearances of any Star Trek character. Period.
Yes,
and it's not even close.
Not anywhere remotely close.
Right.
Chief O'Brien would have had that.
Yeah. He's lower.
Until Worf came onto the show.
That's right. Yeah.
On the Deep Space Nine.
Yep. Yes.
Anyway.
All right.
We've digressed.
Brother, what do we want to do? We want to do bourbon break and then turn you loose, or do we want to turn you loose and
I
then
want
do...
to turn me loose because we're gonna keep going on the same daggone thing.
And then bourbon break before
that's
Robert
right. Where
hammers.
he brings us all home.
All right, go.
Now, I went into this when we sat down to get ourselves prepared for this episode. I hadn't I hadn't looked at anything. I didn't have a clue. I was a blank tabula rasa, and I said, "What should I go for?"
Because you've been busier than a one-arm wallpaper hanger
Well, I have.
for a couple of
That's
weeks
part
here.
of it. You know, I'm always thinking about stuff, like that. But I hadn't really pushed into this one here yet. And I said, well, let's go. There's a list, and we each have our own list of folks we love to quote from. Even if we've not quoted from them, we still think these are the guys. Lincoln is one of them. Hemingway is one of them.
Yeah.
And Twain is another one. And I said, I don't know if we've done Twain. I can't imagine we haven't, but we definitely need to. He's one that, come on, this guy here, he's,
He should be on an Our Heroes episode.
Yeah, and I found this
I think we'll get
interesting that you Hemingway, Lincoln, Twain, but then me is Orwell, O'Rourke, and Nietzsche.
Well, I mean, we should.
It's kind of like, wait, these two guys hang out together? What? Wait.
Yeah, well, there's.
Well, my stuff's all over the place.
Well, that's why if we all had the same thing, it would get very boring very quickly.
Well, that's true. We've talked about that before. We each bring different and unique things to the table, literally, that complement one another.
And
that's what makes our friendship so fruitful.
And mine's always very like this heathen, subversive thing. His is always very like this grand sort of
idealism.
Yes, Mr. Optimism.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Yeah.
I make no
great.
apologies for that. People can call me naive if they want. I've been called that many times. I'm happier than most people. I can pretty well bet.
Yeah.
So come on, attitude really is everything. It really is, and I plan on hopefully living a long life and a fruitful one because of looking at the world with an optimistic outlook.
You're not going with that the good die young, right?
Nope. I'm going more with, and this is a basic Catholic theological belief, is that we were created good.
Yes.
And we're searching to get ourselves back to our true self.
Yes.
And that's
excellent. Excellent way to put it. Love it, because that is the essential truth of what redemption is all about.
That's exactly right. That's right. Getting back to where we were supposed to be and were. We are created that way. Anyway, I digress slightly.
This is good digression, though.
But I really want to... Twain is where I wanted to go. And, there's a bazillion quotes. And, of course, he's very snarky when he wants to be. I'm not doing that this time. This is not the in-your-face, the flying finger of friendship, metaphorically speaking, that Twain was known to give for all sorts of things.
Oh, yeah.
He was the master of the one-liner.
Of it, absolutely. Yeah. And this one here is, I had this picked before you started. You had mentioned your quote, but I didn't even think about it when I picked this here. There's tons of stuff I could have picked, and I picked a short one, very, very short. The secret of getting ahead is getting started. Like I said, I did not coordinate with that with you, and you all know we've talked about this. I'm in the process of writing a novel. I'm almost finished actually with my first draft. I've got 2 chapters left, and I've been reading for the last year everything I can get my hands on how to do it well, constantly, because it's all about craft. We love craft here. You look to the masters and those who have done it so well, and try to figure out not to make the stupid amateur mistakes. I was telling my wife the other day, the one thing I do not ever want to be accused of is, you look so amateur. Just because you're doing something for the first time doesn't mean you have to do it amateurishly. Anyway, but the advice I see over and over and over and over and over again is there's a whole lot of people out there that want to have written, but very, very few who actually want to write, that want to do the work. And the advice that are always given on Quora and other places like that is sit your butt down and write.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
If that process is onerous, you don't have any business starting.
Yep.
Because if you want to write the great American novel or whatever it is, you have to sit down and do it. You have to do it. You have to start. You actually have to put those words down on paper or in computer.
Yeah, blog post, screenplay,
right.
novel, whatever it is.
Yeah, and
do it.
It's right. It's and this is kind of speaking in the creative arena, but it's not. It's meant to be exclusively for that. Any job that you want to get done, you kind of went with the let's get the job done. I'm kind of thinking let's stick with the creative process, because I do believe that all of us have a desire to create.
It's built into the need to procreate.
Built into the need. It's exactly right. It's an extension of that.
Yes.
It's something that we want to reproduce. And I don't want to reduce this to biology, but it's something that God gave us. We want to be better. We want to make something that's wonderful, that's good. There's a desire for goodness.
That's a good word for it.
Yeah,
that's a good word. We want to create something wonderful.
Well, even those who take it that same impulse down dark paths, what they're doing is still kind of the same thing. They have a vision that they want to make real.
Oh well, you
know, somebody, since we're doing World War II for history this year, somebody like a Hitler takes that down the darkest path imaginable. Mm-hmm. Right. The vision that he sees, nobody else wants to see.
Right. Well,
nobody's saying.
He's in his mind. He's creating a utopia, a German utopia, and the Jews and the undesirables, etc., 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 are standing in the way. So it's easy to see how you can pervert a vision.
Yes.
To create
or
something
have
better.
a vision that is already perverted.
Well, that's correct. Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. So to piggyback on yours, and this is not my summing up, by the way, but so to bastardize Martin's quote, 4,000 words may be written in a single day by a writer who actually sits down and frickin' writes.
Yeah. Well, that's right. That's my, that quote from Twain can apply to anything. That's just what the door that's why it spoke to me.
Yeah.
Is because I'm seeing that a lot.
And repeat it again.
The secret of getting ahead is getting started. So if you want to write this book, which is kind of where I'm talking, you've got to actually sit down and write the book. You've got to do the work, and it is long, arduous, and extremely detail oriented. Because otherwise it's going to be a piece of crap. Anybody can write 100,000 words of crap, but to write something good that's worth reading, that has some beauty and worthiness to it, you've got to know your craft.
I love it when Francis goes down this road. It's really good stuff. Really, really good stuff. And it strikes me, again, this... We so many of our code of honors kind of hit this theme of action.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned it in many of mine. These things that appeal to me are these things about get it done, get out there and do, take action.
Passivity is to us a bit suspect or perhaps even onerous.
Well, and that does go back to one of the reasons I made the comment about the Calvinist waspish approach to yours is that's infused into the concept of what it means to be an American.
Yes.
Sometimes from a Catholic perspective negatively, because the doing isn't always, as far as achieving material goals, is not the only thing that should be done. So when we talk about taking action, at least to me, it doesn't always mean building the house, doing really good on whatever project at work. Those are good things. They need to be done. Mm-hmm. But to me, it's not just about that. Just as Snakes and Honors is not about material goods. It's an intellectual exercise. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The intellectual exercise, the artistic exercise, those are just as, if not more important than the to-do list that Calvinistic approach to life can sometimes reduce us to. Mm-hmm. And that's the danger of some of these things. 'Cause these quotes are really good, and they're motivating. I like motivating quotes. Mm-hmm. That's a good number of mine come from those kind of sources. But I also recognize the inherent danger in that we sometimes, as a people, not us necessarily here, can get caught up in the doing, and we forget about the fact that we are human beings, not human doings. which I've used before.
Very, very true. That's right, because our dignity and sanctity does not rest in our productivity.
Exactly.
Or our creativity.
Exactly.
Wow. So, I mean, there's an indictment of John Stuart Mill. We would just
Which
worked
we
in.
love doing. I'm seriously
It's
thinking.
just crazy
well,
that we're okay. Let's grab this Presbyterian Calvinist influence. Let's run down John
By two
Stuart
Catholics
Mill.
and the heathen.
You know, you talk about an intellectual exercise and a leadership seminar. Could I be standing in front of people as an introvert and doing a TED talk on all this? No, I don't think I could. You could, Robert. I bet. Francis could.
No.
I don't think I can.
Well,
But in this context, this becomes a leadership seminar. It becomes that lesson of the work is worth doing. If it weren't, nobody would hire you to do it. And additionally, what's the first principle of leadership? Lead yourself well.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, you can't lead other people in an organization if you don't do what you do well. Mm-hmm. Do your job first. Then you can worry about leading others and being a servant to others.
See, and that's part of where I'm going with this. It's not a criticism of the concept. It's a criticism of the concept taken to the extreme.
Yeah.
Doing the job well is great. Doing the right job is even better. Mm-hmm. But the right job really is so much bigger. And part of that does start with making sure you are fully alive, the most human you can be. Mm-hmm. It's a common theme we talk about in these a lot because it's so important. Without these core fundamentals, nothing else matters. The person who is not trying to, as Francis said, to get back to what we were meant to be, mm-hmm. is never going to achieve all they could, first of all, because they're missing out a major aspect of what it means to be human. And that is something that far too often we do see. And we see that with, people who maybe grew up in the Great Depression. All they're worried about, got to put food on the table, got to work hard 6 days a week to make sure that we've got, because, even though your dad's a baby boomer, he grew up coming out of that time period.
Right.
With nothing.
Nothing.
With absolutely
That's
nothing.
correct. And survival does put a different perspective on things.
When you're in survival mode, the art and the creativity come later.
That's right.
And I recognize that, absolutely, because you have to be alive to be able to do any of that stuff. Right. Now, where we are in our culture today, maybe we could use a little bit more survival mode because we are well past the point where you have to work for anything anymore. At least that's what a lot of people think. Mm-hmm. Technology has made lives too easy, and in that sense has created the ability to screw things up really badly.
Well, we've created our own Cylon overlords. Some are saying.
But they're not necessarily machines.
We have plenty of technology on this table that we're working with that that all of us in this modern age find ourselves so tied to in so many
That's very
ways.
true.
The classic FOMO, fear of missing out, slaves to our phones.
Yes,
well, that's correct. And there is a biological dopamine pleasure center.
Oh, absolutely. The phones. We
Yeah.
have seen that phones, just like pornography, change our brain chemistry.
Correct.
Just like in the same way that drugs do, because you get that dopamine hit.
That's it.
And makes you desire it more.
Right.
And just like with drugs and pornography, you need more and more of it to achieve the same level
That's right.
of that hit.
It is an ultimately self-defeating prophecy.
Yes.
That you can never have enough.
And they are distractions from both sides of what we've been talking about. The doing the job well.
Doing and being.
Because if you're tied to a screen, you're neither doing nor being.
Yeah. And I just love how we've hit both sides of this. We appreciated what the quotes are trying to tell us, and at the same time guarded against what could be wrong with that outlook. Balanced it out.
Well, sure, yeah.
We're balanced.
Well, I like to think
we're eating a good breakfast.
We are critical thinkers, and we recognize that we can take any of these philosophical things and pick them apart and find out what's good and what's not so good and problematic, I'd say, and work with it. You know, it might be time for bourbon, actually.
I think it's time to do a bourbon break and then turn it over to Robert.
Yes, the Robertius Malleus. What the heck am I drinking, Martin? Because you poured it. I didn't.
Well, you asked me to pour you a glass of Old
That's
Tub
what it
neat.
was. I'm sitting here, couldn't remember, because he was saying, "Can I pour you a glass, sir?" And I says, "Yes, something," and I couldn't remember
You
what
said,
that was.
pour a glass of Old Tub, and I said, say when.
That's right, exactly. Oh, yes, with the perfect Val Kilmer impersonation, actually, very well.
So, yes, we're returned to Studio M, and Francis wanted a quick slug of Old Tub.
Which has been sitting here in front of me all this time, and I haven't even touched it.
Oh,
I've had a few
fix that.
sips of mine.
Oh, Robert and I decided to go with my brand new bottle of Woodford Reserve, which
that's
is
right.
always Robert's favorite.
Well, the double oaked is my.
Oh, yeah, that's right. The double oak.
which is a slightly more expensive bottle, unfortunately.
Yes, this is
Which
just
that's what I have some of that at Studio F.
The Woodford. I don't think I've had a regular Woodford in a while because I usually keep the double oaked. And one of the things that I've noted when I go back and forth between the two, the regular Woodford is not quite as smooth as the double oaked.
Interesting.
It's burn. That bite is a little bit different. It's a little bit more nasally. It hits in the back of my sinuses a bit, but it's still got a nice warmth going down.
Yes,
which I
yes.
really like. Which
Yes.
That's the after effect is so important.
Yeah, Old Tub's got that too. It sticks with you for a little while in
Yeah.
the best sense of the word.
Yeah.
Now, Francis is doing neat. You did soapstone.
Right.
And I
Which
threw
is-
a couple ice cubes in mine.
Yeah,
So
which is
mine's-
kind of halfway between you.
Yeah, I've kind of got a little bit of water. You're just doing chilled. And it's been a while since I've had any Woodford. And, of course, Woodford is a heavily advertised brand. Mm-hmm. They talk about 200 flavor notes. I don't know. My palate's not sophisticated enough to get all those. But doggone it, it is mighty good.
Yes.
I am getting a little bit of that citrus to it that they advertise, and a little bit of sweetness, the syrup type
Yes.
caramel sweetness.
Not a heavy one, certainly.
Yeah, and then that it's smoothly warm. No, I wouldn't even call it a burn. It's just a warm,
Right, yeah.
smoothly warm, kind of down to your diaphragm. Man,
It's good stuff. So,
wow.
are we ready to hammer?
I don't know. Let me finish this, man. Hold on. I'm the only one sitting here with an empty glass now. So.
That's all right. I think it's hammer time.
Oh, it was so good.
So, gotta be. So what Martin is saying, he needs to be well lubricated to listen to me.
Well, lubricity, sir. It's a good
It's just
word.
it's
Very good word.
kind of a man. I could see sitting out on the deck this evening with another glass of this.
Oh, yeah,
It's,
yeah.
Oh wow, that's good.
So, I've got several quotes that could work really, really well. Matter there ended up being three right here together that could work really well. One's an Amelia Earhart. One is a Mark Twain.
Oh.
And another is actually the quintessential Yoda quote, which is, do or do not, there is no try, which easily could tie into this.
Yeah.
But that's almost a little trite.
That's a low hanging fruit. For
It's
Robert.
a low hanging fruit for us. Yes.
Robert can do better.
So I'm really torn between the two of these. Twain is more eloquent in his quote. It's essentially kind of the same thing. All three are kind of saying the same thing. Mm-hmm. So I think we'll do two Twain quotes today.
All right, go with Twain.
I'm loving it. I'm absolutely
So
loving
do a
it.
little catch up on
Go
our
with throttle
Twain.
up. I mean,
Well,
go with
yeah,
Mark
because
Twain.
he's so good and got so much, and we haven't used him yet. Yeah, we can catch up a little
We can
bit.
do that. I mean, we did an entire episode with Nietzsche. Why not?
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So,
Go for
an
it.
entire episode of Kirk. So
Yep.
20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things that you didn't do than by the ones you did do. So throw off the bowline, sail away from the safe harbor, catch the trade winds in your sails, explore, dream, discover.
I almost picked that quote, but it was too long, so I didn't pick it. I went with the short one. I'm so glad you did, because that was.
But doing the
supposed to be-
summary, I can pick the longer quote.
Yes, you can, and
Because-
I'm so glad you did, because that is. I love that quote. I love
It
that
is to me, that does such a great job of summing up everything we've talked about, because
Yes.
it's got the both utilitarian side as well as the I don't necessarily call it the spiritual side, but the being. It's
The being.
doing and
fully,
the being.
The fully human side.
Yes.
And it's written in that classic Twain brilliance.
Yes.
He's not pithy there. He's expansive.
Well,
there.
in a way, he the visual imagery that he evokes is so good.
Yes.
He's showing, not telling.
Command of the language.
Exactly.
To draw that picture for the reader.
We most of us aren't going to be all that familiar with the sailing terms, but throwing off the bow lines, it's basically detaching yourself from the dock,
From the shore. From the
shore.
safe place.
from the safest,
From the safety. From safety.
Telling you, get away from the harbor, get out of your comfort zone, and catch the trade winds in your sails, that is just a phenomenal statement. Again, we don't come from a sailing culture, but to me, it's such a great visual in the sense that when you catch the trade winds, you're riding. I guess maybe you use more boating kind of term. You're riding that wave. You've got momentum. It gives you momentum, and you're using everything at all the resources at your command to go where you want to go. And
you're filling the sails.
Yeah,
filling the sails and let's get underway.
That's right, Martin. You should let your introverted self give the damn TED talk. Step outside that comfort zone.
Yeah.
Get out of the safe harbor. You can do it.
When Robert's giving that quote, I'm thinking, it immediately strikes me, yes, that's what Snakes and Otters is. It's so much simpler to not have done this.
Right.
It's so much safer not to have done this. We're putting ourselves out there. We cast off the lines, we filled our sails, and we're out there.
Right.
And not everybody likes it. We reviewed some quotes from YouTube the other night.
So, yeah,
we've got some unfavorable ones, and it's like, well, you know what? We're not quitting.
Right.
We're going on.
So Marty and I, we were doing our show prep, and
production meeting,
and Francis got
I love
tied
calling
up.
them that because it's the production meeting is cutting the throats. We're working.
That's right. Francis was tied up, couldn't make it, and I had mentioned to Martin that I'd finally gotten around to looking at the views on our YouTube channel, and we don't get as much traffic there on average as we do with the podcast, but certain episodes exploded in views. Which is phenomenal.
The What If episodes, again, another Francis favorite, seem to do well on YouTube.
The Stonewall Jackson got, I think, the highest number of views there. We got some comments, some really positive ones. The one, which I didn't really understand, is I couldn't get through the first 15 minutes of it, or after 15 minutes I was done. I was like, dude, that's just, we were hitting our stride, Yeah, sometimes we can start out a little slow. But that's okay. We get to it. We are worth the wait.
Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there.
Yeah. But getting out and doing the stuff that enables us to be our best is what this is about, I think. Because you cannot separate the two. In the end of that quote was explore, dream, discover. That's exactly what we're doing here. Mm-hmm. We're exploring the human condition. We're dreaming about what can be, what should be, and in the end, discovering, I think, quite a bit about not only ourselves but our culture and human nature.
That's right.
Yeah,
the human condition.
The human condition. We always talk about that. That's a big part of what this is an exploration of the human condition.
In many respects, every story is about that. In fact, if a story doesn't have that, it's almost not worth reading.
What's the point of doing a history episode if it's not an exploration of something important to the human condition?
That's right, and that's where, if you do that, even those who say, well, I don't like history, they should, because if it's done that way, they'll get that. Okay, well, I can see that. It's about the stories. It still is about the stories. Yeah. And we're biologically wired to appreciate that.
Right. It's what separates us from all other creatures is the ability to tell stories. Mm-hmm. Other creatures can communicate.
Sure.
But it's at an instinctual level. It's at a what do I need to do now?
How do we get fed?
How do we get fed? Danger.
Even the dolphins, as sophisticated as their communication is supposed to be, according to biologists, it's still very much need-based for what we know.
Right. And, maybe that's partially because, we're the only creatures to have developed the ability to create leisure time where we don't have to worry about where our next meal is coming from to a great degree.
Yeah. Well, we create our own purpose. We create our own sense of purpose from the drive that compels us to overcome them. That's James T. from the motion picture.
Sense of purpose, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, we are the only creature capable of hitting Maslow's highest need on that hierarchy.
That's what V'ger didn't have.
Right.
That's what it needed.
Always got to get the Trek in there.
Of course we do. That's right.
Yet another Trek.
That's right.
But so, like I said, the reason I like this is, to me, it encapsulates the best of both of your quotes.
Yeah.
And it's both because the other one that I was thinking about, which probably I will never use, but if we do, we can explore it later, was Amelia Earhart. The most difficult thing is the decision to act. The rest is merely tenacity, which is another great expression. The same kind of thing. And no matter what it is we're talking about doing, you got to start.
That's exactly right. You
Even
do it.
what you want to be. If you are everything you ever want to be right now, you might as well die, because you've already achieved everything that you could possibly.
And Alexander did weep, for there were no more worlds left to conquer.
Yes, that's why I feel sad and bad for those who don't have any concept of being a better individual, in the sense that I could be better at either being a husband or a father, or I could just learn something new.
I could be of more service.
Be of more service, yes.
There's more I could do that would serve others.
Or even as simple as, and maybe this is even more important because this might even be the starting point to some of those things, could I appreciate literature, music, and art more deeply, as opposed to just appreciating, whatever blockbuster movie? Because you can appreciate that because you can enjoy it, but not many of them make you think. Other than using Captain America and Endgame for that great Heroes episode and making you think, but that's us.
Yeah.
But those who are so mired in the day-to-day, to me, those are the people that are stuck in the Running Man 4,000 Throats thing. Mm-hmm. They don't see beyond the tasks in front of them.
Being very hamster wheely.
Yes, it's very hamster wheely and what's worse, without knowing it.
Oh yeah, there's the tragedy. Yeah,
and that is a tragedy.
Self-aware, being self-aware that you're stuck on that.
Yeah, and that's being more of a human doing than a human being.
Yeah,
because you can be out of whack in both directions. Yeah. You can be so tied up into the being aspect, that you have no desire to get a job, take care of the things that need to be taken care of. Because you got to live. You got to have a place to live. You got to put food on the table. Even if you're unmarried, there are certain basic realities you have to take care of.
Yeah, and there's dignity and value in those realities too.
There is, yes.
And I think that can be lost on people who see that as commercialism and materialism. Is like, yeah, but at the same time, getting your life in order has a value beyond that.
That's right.
It's,
we all wish it, whether we admit it or not.
Exactly.
In many ways, this is a good summation of the point, not necessarily the words, but I think the point of the social contract.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Because however you want to define that, whether it's a biological imperative, the Great Leviathan, or a John Locke approach, doesn't matter. Whether it's human liberty or human subjugation, although you're going to have a hard time probably putting the subjugation. Well, again, that's still one guy trying to impose his view on the rest of the world.
Well, that's a Hobbesian thing.
Yeah,
and it was not meant to be a bad thing.
Right, it wasn't. Yeah. It wasn't. Yeah, but the point being, the summation of the ideal of that social contract is that we are all able to not just do what needs to be done, but make society better. Honestly, you can make the argument, even though I hate the expression of the social contract, for lack of a better word, in Star Trek, that is an ideal. It's an unrealistic ideal.
Yes.
Because supposedly they're not concerned about wealth. They work on bettering themselves. Okay, in reality, that's probably not as doable as you think it is. But it's a nice ideal to shoot for.
Well, that was Roddenberry. It was still first season, Next Generation.
It was.
His stuff was still...
It's before they introduced Ferengis as a necessary evil. Because somebody's got to provide the goods and services.
Yeah. Well, somebody's got to do drywall.
Right, exactly.
Very good, sir. Very good, sir.
Oh, that's great. Somebody's got to do the drywall.
But it's, I mean...
Because everybody else is covered up.
Yeah, we got all we can do. We're covered up. We got all we can do.
We lose money on your job.
Money on your job. But I mean, people who don't have a sense of the value of work go in that direction all the time. You know, that whole millennial, well, that's just crass commercialism, man. No, it isn't. It's
that crass commercialism is what gave you that frickin' iPhone that you're so buried into.
Yeah,
you know?
When you think about...
Gentlemen, a little snarky today.
Yeah, well, but when you think about a home, a nice place to live, yes, there's a pride of ownership. There's a little bit of... yes, there can be this... I'm not sure what the right word is, but yeah, I mean, yeah, you can be a snot because you got a $450,000 home, whatever. But...
Elitism.
Elitism. But think of all the people who made a living building that home.
Right.
The people who did the drywall, who did the paint, who did the roof, who did the plumbing, who poured the foundation, people who designed the kitchen. There's more to something like that than just cutting wood for cabinets.
Right.
Somebody designed that idea. So there's so many things. When you think about a house and all the different specialties and things that went into it, and all the people who made a living based on
all the government regulators that wrote up the rules that governed how you could do things. Maybe that's not a good example.
All the inspectors. Hey, you got to have a 42-inch footing on this pyramid. Your next inspection's in 475 years. He ain't going to let it go neither.
Tim Wilson, the late, the great. We love it.
So,
That's right.
and yes, again, Martin's glass is empty.
Wow.
Well, which means we're probably needing to wrap up.
Yes, we're at 52, so we...
Yeah,
so I like where you're going with that house metaphor, though, because that's exactly what I had, the kind of thing I had in mind when I said this encapsulates the goal of the social contract. Because while we are all individuals, I'm not, we are all also part of a community.
That's right.
And to varying degrees, we want to participate in that community. I know sometimes Martin wants to participate in it a lot less than the rest of us. But that's partially not so much that you don't like people, although I'm sure there's some of that sometimes. Because I understand that too. People wear me out.
Yeah, are people your source of energy, or are they a drain of your energy?
Exactly. Well, that's classic introvert extrovert.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is.
And you are what you are.
Right.
You can function in both, but you got a default.
But no matter what, we're still part of a community. There's not a whole lot of desert monks living in a cave anymore. Now there's terrorists living in caves, but that's an entirely different thing.
Yes.
But because we are part of that community, we have both the rights and the responsibilities that go with it. The rights are to pursue the creative, the dreams, to do that exploring and discovering. But there are also responsibilities to make sure that your part in the community is taken care of.
Yes.
So whether it's paying the taxes that you need to keep up the roads, or being on the neighborhood watch, or whatever it is, we have both rights and responsibilities to one another. And you cannot isolate any of this. You can't isolate your rights. You can't isolate your responsibilities. You cannot isolate your doing or your being.
Yes.
It all works together.
Your thought and your action has to both be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think this has just rapidly turned into my favorite code of honor we may have ever done.
Wow.
I just love these two Twain quotes, especially this language again, it's just awesome from Twain. This
Well,
metaphor,
this is proof that the twain can meet.
yeah.
Oh!
That's terrible.
Oh!
Kick his chair for that one.
Oh.
But
I don't know. It's terrible, but it's good. It's like the
It's
really
like a-
bad car wreck. You got to slow down to watch.
It's like you can't turn away from it, folks.
that imagery, that visual metaphor of the sailing ship, casting off from the shore, leaving your safety, moving from Plymouth to the New World.
Yeah, and maybe it is the most ideal because it's the first thing is about what you do,
Yeah,
but the doing with a purpose.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's all from a guy from Missouri.
Yeah,
He doesn't even know nothing about sailing.
that's right.
Well, he was a riverboat pilot. He knows a little bit about the water.
Yeah, but that would have been a paddle wheeler.
That's right. Yeah.
But not about, sailing from Boston to go hunt for whales.
He did live in San Francisco, though, so he would have been exposed to that
bit,
nautical culture there quite a bit.
Yeah, major port.
Yeah.
This again, at 55 minutes, we better wrap up.
Yeah,
But I could
yeah.
go on forever. I really do like this episode.
I think it
turned
worked out
great.
really well. This was a very focused episode, probably one of the most focused Code of Honor that we have done.
Yeah, yeah.
So very impressive in that
And
respect.
still touching so much of what we've done in the past, building this consistent ethos of what Snakes and Otters is trying to do.
Amen. Yes, sir.
Amen, brother.
Looks good, boys. Let's caulk it.
Well said. Well said, Francis. So I feel like I've taken over your captaincy, but
No, we all work together. You know that.
we do it well. But
It's such a thing. But next episode, though,
Next time, please, yes.
we're going back to the people you should know, our heroes, and this is a hero episode. Dwight David Eisenhower. The reason we picked him is because Martin really wanted to. I suppose that started it, but it kind of ties in with our World War II remembrance that we're going through this year. The 70th anniversary of 80th anniversary of the United States entry into World War II. So this ties in well with that. He's a fascinating figure.
He really is.
He really is,
Yes.
and he's more than just being political, although we'll talk a lot about that. It's not just him being a general, but we'll talk about that too. All of which, great exploration next time. Don't miss it.
hope you enjoyed another pointless discussion of eternal questions. Remember, new episodes published every Friday at noon Eastern.
Spread the word. We're on all the major podcast platforms. And leave us a comment or review because that helps others find us.
We're on Instagram, Twitter, as well as our website, snakesandotters.com.
I'm Martin.
And I'm Robert.
And I'm Francis. Join us next week, same snake time, same otter channel.